African Gulf generals you probably did not know. William Wade Harris, a soul of fire. In 1910, a middle-aged African sat in a jail cell in Liberia, locked up for political activism, and found his mind turning to God. He literally suspected something was about to happen that would make him one of the most effective evangelists Africa has seen and the founder of an influential denomination. Harris was born in 1860 as a crewman in the Greba tribe of Liberia. He preached in Liberia, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. He has been described as the most extraordinary one-man evangelical crusade that Africa has ever known and is considered one of the originators of today's prosperity gospel. According to William Ward and Harris' later testimony, what happened was that the angel Gabriel entered his jail cell with a sound like gushing water. The Spirit descended on the incarcerated Episcopalian. You are not in prison. The angelic messenger assured him, God is coming to anoint you. You'll be a prophet. Your case resembles that of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You are like Daniel, Gabriel instructed him, to replace his western clothes with a white gown and shun alcohol. Harry's wife, Rose, hearing the news, assumed her husband had gone mad. Overcome by grief, she fell ill and died. William Wadi Harris was larger than life, a biblical prophet in modern Africa. Many stories are told of his power encounters with the land's traditional religious specialists, diviners, or priests of ancient divinities. His miracles of healing entered legend. It was said that he could call down rain from the heavens and that he inflicted madness on some who resisted his message. On one occasion, people hid some of their religious statues in the bush to avoid the bonfires, only to see them destroyed by a mysterious fire. The Daima Church, founded in 1942 by Mary Lalo, who died in 1951, is the second largest Harris church in Ivory Coast. Lalo saw herself as Harry's spiritual successor. She believed that he had driven away witchcraft, but that it had returned, and that she was the one chosen to expel it again. Like Harry's, her followers destroyed traditional cult objects. Apolo Kivebulaya, Uganda. Apolo Kivebulaya, a convert from Islam, bravely preached to witch doctors, hostile chieftains, and pygmy tribes. Apollo is considered the principal pioneer of the Anglican Church in Belgian Congo. Born in 1864, Waswa Manobi had survived the death in infancy of his own twin brother. He wrote, "If a twin dies, the parents do not weep. They announce the death by saying the child had gone back." And everyone knows what that means. But when Waswa turned 13, H.M. Stanley, who had discovered David Livingstone in 1872, paid a visit to Mutesa's court and persuaded the chief to begin reading in the Christian religion. The chief was probably more impressed with Stanley's guns than with his Bible, for Mutesa had already parted ways with the Arabs and now needed protection. But the chief's welcome opened the door for his people to embrace Christianity. Waswa requested baptism in 1894 and took a new name, Apollo Kivebulaya. Apollo honored the evangelists of Acts 18:24-25, and Kivebulaya, meaning the thing from England, was given to him because he wore a suit under his long white garment. In his darkest hour, while in prison as a visionary, Jesus appeared to him in a dream. Apollo heard him say, "Be of good cheer, I am with you." He answered, "Who is speaking to me?" And he heard, "I am Jesus Christ. Preach to my people. Do not be afraid." From that day, Apollo's spirit revived. Soon, CMS members intervened for the imprisoned missionary and secured his release. People also told stories of Apollo's near miraculous powers. When a famine broke out in 1913, one witness reported that Apollo went to Kitagweta to give the Holy Communion and told them to be patient in Jesus, and he will even give you rain. He prayed, and it rained straight away. Once, Apollo sailed onto Lake Edward to visit an island. When a storm blew up, Apollo sang, and to his companion's surprise, the storm quieted. James Johnson, Ethiopia. Holy Johnson and the Ethiopian Church. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God, said the psalm. Yet racism in the mission churches clouded that vision. James Johnson, 1836 to 1917, offered a solution. Like Crowther, Johnson was a Yoruba graduate of the Foray Bay Institution, but it was his parents, not himself, as in Crowther's case, who had been rescued from slavery. Johnson himself was born and raised free in Sierra Leone and became a catechist at the colony's southernmost village, Kent. It wasn't until he had been in a job for a while, however, that he experienced a personal conversion. As he read the third and fourth chapters of Zechariah to schoolchildren, the Lord spoke to me as my Savior, and within that week at a Holy Communion service I found salvation. On that occasion, the joy and gladness of personal salvation led me to offer myself to God that He might send me out as a missionary among heathen people. After 2 years, Johnson was transferred to the Freetown Grammar School where he had first been educated. There, he quickly gained a reputation for an intense moral code which he often imposed on others. He even withheld the dinners of students who hadn't finished their math homework. For this rigor, he became known as Holy Johnson. Moses Orimolade, founder of Cherubim and Seraphim movement in Nigeria. Moses Orimolade was a son to Pa Tonlase, who hailed from the royal family in Ikare in the present Ondo State, Nigeria. He was born in 1879. However, before he was born, the mother suffered a prolonged labor to the extent that a native doctor was consulted by his parents on what they should do that would make his birth possible. They were told by the Ifa oracle that the would-be child would be a great man. They instructed that the mother put on the chieftaincy beads of the family on her neck, and the baby would come out easily. This was done, and Orimolade was born. He stood up and began to walk. This made the midwife to force him to sit down twice. However, Orimolade stood up the third time and he began to walk. At that moment, the midwife left him and sent for his father to come and see his miracle child. He began his ministry at his hometown, Ikare, Akoko, in the present Ondo State. He also prayed for those who were ill. Immediately he prayed for them, they received their healing. He was once challenged by traditionalists for converting people to Christianity, and while they tried to fight him in a crusade with the Christians, he stretched his staff towards the evil people, and they began to fight themselves, while the Christians stood watching as they fought themselves. Many of them were wounded with the weapons and charms which they were supposed to use on the Christians. Moses was also persecuted by the state and the governor. However, when the king of England was sick, the governor asked Moses to pray for him and informed the king also. And the king discovered that it was during the period Moses prayed for him that he recovered. So he sent him gifts and the persecution stopped, and the cherubim and seraphim mission prospered.